Love Life, featuring your hosts Rebecca Detman and Jane Donovan.
The sun shines bright as it moves across my face. I feel the light.
I am open and receptive to embrace my unique gifts.
Welcome to Love Life. I'm Rebecca Detman.
And I'm Jane Donovan.
And we thought we'd talk today about core gifts, which is something which can go under a few different names. We could perhaps also refer to this as your innate talents, natural, when you see like a child sit down and play the piano amazingly, like you might say, oh, that child is just a natural born talent or something like that. But we could also perhaps use the word soul purpose or life purpose. It's this idea that every single person, of course, we've all got our unique little fingerprints, and along with those unique little fingerprints and our special snowflake status, we've all got these very unique reasons why our soul is here and what we plan to do with our lives. But what we have that is our own very special, very deep, beautiful, amazing thing that we are here in this world to give, share, enlighten, educate with, to use for ourselves, for personal power, and to show to others. Now, let's be very clear that I'm not necessarily saying, oh, and it's playing the piano, but it might be. For some people, they are very lucky because they're born with a set of lungs on them, or they're breakdancing at age 3, as seen in many YouTube viral clips and so forth. But for other people, your core gifts are going to be more things like, you are the most loyal person I'll ever meet. You are the most honest person I'll ever meet. You value truth speaking very, very highly. You're an amazing listener. You're a nurturer, and you can raise 12 children and never, flap around or break a sweat. There's going to be all sorts of different emotional areas that you are actually going to specialise in, whether you realise it or not. And this, in fact, leads us into some of the interesting points, Jane, actually linked to shadow work. When you don't recognise and embrace your core gifts, what begins to happen to them?
Well, that's why I actually really wanted the affirmation to be about, I'm open and embracing, because so often, we meet people and we say, well, who are you? And they can't answer that question. When I can look at somebody and go, you're kind, loyal, trusting, giving, generous, sensitive, compassionate, trustworthy, blah, 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 blah. And their eyes start to sort of get wide, and they might start to blink a little bit with a bit of emotion, going, wow, she really sees me. And I would love people to be able to actually say that for themselves, not wait for somebody to say it for you, but to actually be bold enough to embrace it and to be able to say, I am this, and feel fantastic about it. And then there's the other side of the little gifts that we have that people think everybody's got that. Everybody can do that. That's not unique. Well, who cares whether it's unique to one person on the planet or 1 million people on the planet? It is still a gift. And it's still something that's effortless and easy to you. It's a default setting that this is who you are, or it's a default setting of this is what you can easily do, e.g. the piano playing. I mean, only last night I was having a conversation with a beautiful friend who does beautiful calligraphy. And she's saying, she's wanting more work-life balance, and she's given up a couple of shifts, a couple of days' work, and wants to spend more time with her teenage children. And, the usual battle of, money versus time. And I said, what are you doing with your gorgeous calligraphy? She said, oh, that, Jane, I just do that for friends and family, when people want something nice written, or I do it on the school certificates. And I said, but you could be charging for this. This is a beautiful gift. This is a gorgeous skill that you have that other people don't have, that they would enjoy paying for, having beautiful calligraphy written, cards,
wedding
notes,
invitations.
Yeah, exactly. Certificates, awards, all of those things.
Oh, I know. There's a beautiful watercolourist and sort of homemade handbook maker in America. Her name is Susan Branch, and she has a really beautiful, inspiring blog. She basically was just sort of a woman sitting at home, a little bit bored, just sort of homemaking, and she bought a really basic box of watercolours and started to just paint, and realised that she actually could very amazingly just paint. One of the things she'd always been really good at was perfect penmanship. So at school, she always got the awards for best handwriting, and she was just absolutely beautiful, almost like this copper plate kind of a handwriting. But it's like, well, what do you do with that in life? What do you do with it? She's written by hand about 15 books. So they're not typed or printed.
Oh, wow.
They're actually written by hand and illustrated by herself as well. And so she actually made a living out of her handwriting.
Beautiful.
So this just goes to show that you absolutely will fall into the trap of thinking, oh yeah, I'm really good at da-da-da-da, but who cares about that anyway? That's useless. That's not going to earn me money.
Well, when I spoke to this lady last night about calligraphy, Sian said, oh, but people can just do it on the computer. And I said, no, they can't.
You're missing the point.
Not hand-done, beautiful writing.
Nobody wants a printed calligraphy.
No, that's right. Exactly.
It's just amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, but the gift is the thing that you can do, or you are by default effortless and easy, and chances are that you think, oh, that's so easy that everybody else has it or can do it too.
A good way to figure out what they are, your core gifts, if you don't know how to find them, is and this is actually borrowing a little bit from shadow work, if you'd like to go back and reference that episode a long time ago about your dark, your shadow side. You ask yourself, what really annoys me in people? So, for example, I could never get over the fact that boyfriend I used to have, he just was so unsupportive of me. He never supported me. Well, what that might be highlighting is the fact that you view support as a very, very high spiritual value. It's something that really, really is important to your very, very soul. And it usually means that you are, in fact, probably one of the most supportive people on the planet. Like, you actually know how to support with your eyes closed, falling off a log backwards. It's something that's very natural to you. Now, it depends what stage of owning that gift you are. Either you do support, and you just get really peeved when other people just don't show up with that value, or you find that you consistently are surrounding yourself with people who don't support you ever, ever, ever at all. And the reason why is because you are not supporting yourself. You're not using your core gift. You're not owning that core gift.
Right, what a cool way to find it.
Yeah, so our core gifts they are so actually empowered. There's so much power in these gifts because they lead us to a much clearer understanding of who we are and the elements that make us up. And I like to think from a spiritual point of view, some of these often really do come from past lives, Jane. Like, as in, if you've spent a few lifetimes, I mean, maybe you've just spent a hell of a lot of lifetimes mothering. Maybe you've been that woman on the moors in the cottage with 12 children and you've done that more than once. You know how to handle a small army of children. Maybe it's that you've been a soldier in many, many lifetimes and you know how to withstand a lot of physical pain or physical conditions because you've got that grit. You can really strive on towards goals and not let setbacks, throw you off your path. You've just got that extra determination and willpower, So it's interesting, I think, the things that show up in this lifetime are sometimes things that we've spent some time fine honing before and we return to very naturally and gracefully with ease when we're called upon in this lifetime to do so.
So therefore it does become the default.
They are. They're things that have been with you since you were born.
And that is why so often they're not acknowledged. Because it's a default. It's just the way you are.
Yeah.
You haven't had to work at it. You didn't have to read a book. You didn't have to listen to a podcast. You didn't have to go and do a course to try and be more like that. You just are that.
You are.
And so therefore you perhaps haven't even acknowledged it. When somebody says to me, oh, I'm a bit boring, and I go, what does that mean? Oh, I'm just really reliable and trustworthy and honest. And it's all a bit boring. I don't really have anything really glamorous to bring to the table. And I think, do you not know that they are the qualities that I only want to be around? Only. Yes. If you ain't got them, go away.
I know how much we undervalue and underwrite these. We do.
So what if we were to explore a few of those qualities, and why don't we have a little chat about why we value those so-called boring qualities so much, and see if this helps each of us that puts our hand up and says, oh, well, I'm that. Well, look at that. That's the value in it.
They make the world go round, some of these qualities.
Yeah. Let's start with something. I went for a job interview back in 1980-something, early 80s. It was like a million years ago. And it was kind of the first job interview I went, which was with, actually I think it's the only job interview I've ever been on, where it was with a HR company. So they kind of grilled me a bit differently to how when you're just going to have a chat with the boss. And one of the things they said was, "Oh, name your best quality," or "No, describe yourself." And I wrote, "I'm kind." And I remember them saying, "Kind isn't really kind of what we're looking for."
So not a corporate value.
It's not, is it? But let me turn that around. It is all I look for now in every area of my life, including corporate.
In your business.
The number one quality that I looked for when employing staff with social aid. The number one, kindness.
How do you check for kindness? How do you test for that, Jane?
Oh, look, I'm an empath. I just feel it.
You
I
intuit
can
it.
intuitively know that.
Yeah.
But it's often... Kindness usually goes hand in hand, not always, but usually, if kindness is in its full capacity, right? So it's not where, "Oh, yeah, I'm a kind person, but I'm not kind all the time." But if it really is a default, so what we're talking about, that core gift. So not something that's been learnt, but something that is the core gift. It usually goes hand in hand with a softness and a warmth.
Yeah.
And that warmth can be seen so easily in the way that they speak, in their body language. And so that's how you know that that is a core gift of kindness. But I want to share that because the world is changing and we are starting to value people's core gifts and beautiful personality traits and emotional intelligence in a much more enriching way in every part of our life. And so I get really excited, like Katie, who's my PA in social aid, is that through and through. And what happens as a result? She writes the most beautiful, loving emails to our members. And that's what I want. So to that HR company back in the early 80s,
What are they getting on these days?
But so there's kindness. There is kindness. There's how much that is valued. And if I'm valuing it, there would be trillions of people on this planet that are valuing it as well.
I just saw a study which said emotional intelligence is becoming such a buzzword as the rest of the world starts to catch on to this EQ thing, Jane. And they've done studies now to show that having a high emotional intelligence, people with high EQs earn more than people with just the IQs in the job front. And we understand why. It's exactly for the reason, for example, that Jane just illustrated. So what about, let's say, the little pensioner who lives the quiet little life in the little house in the little quiet suburb and just walks the dog once a week and goes to bingo and crochets and watches, TV and leads a very, very quiet life. See, it's very easy to look at someone like that and almost think, well, what's their purpose in being here, really? What's their core gift? And this is where I love it because we really have to push ourselves. See, Jane and I have done the episodes where we've talked about passions and topics that you're curious or interested in, or fascinations that you want to follow, how to make careers out of them, how to follow them, and start small businesses off them. I think today, by talking about core gifts, we're going one subtler. And we're saying, forget about business and making money out of it. And, I really like gardening and I really like children, so I'm going to do children's gardening classes in the community garden. We're not talking about that today.
No.
We're talking more about really understanding the 3 or 4 core gifts that you have as a human, as a personality, as a soul. What are the 4 things that are just so deeply you, that you do so easily and gracefully? So if we go to this little pensioner...
Well, yeah, I love that.
I mean, we'd have to meet one and have a chat with them maybe to find out. But
no, I could take a guess. I would take a guess.
Let's take a guess each.
Okay.
What's your guess?
Oh, I've got 2. I would say gentleness and consideration.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
That she would be a very gentle person. Now, how are gentle people good? You know what? When you are not feeling great about the world, or you feel like the world's just all too fast and heavy and go, and you go and sit down next to a gentle person, your world just softens. It's such a gift to be around, to just soften it.
Children and animals need gentle people in their lives.
Also, that's that experiment that they've just put a childcare centre into a old age nursing home with extraordinary results.
Exactly.
Beautiful.
It's these little undermined values that we don't think are that important that can actually change lives.
These are these core qualities, these core gifts. When you know what you have to bring, and then when you own them, you then can know how you can best be of service with these gifts.
I reckon
because our souls need softening all the time and balancing and stimulating. And
I reckon this little pensioner lady, I reckon she's got reliability. I reckon she always shows up on time. I think she always has milk money in the envelope.
Yes.
I think she'll walk the
You ask her to bake for the local church.
She'll do it.
Bake sale, and it'll be there.
The neighbour goes away, she'll look after your veggie patch and your chooks and your dog for you. You can trust her with your key. You can, she's just, we need these people in communities.
Yeah, and I'm going to add consideration that, she'd be walking her dog every day around the block and she sees that somebody's left dog poo, well, she'll be the one picking it up and putting it in the bin, or she sees that somebody's having a bit of a dispute out the front yard, so she'll actually cross the road and walk away so that you can have your privacy, but at the same time she'll ring and check in on you later on to make sure you're okay, so discreetly. There's another one, discretion. That lady would be so full of discretion.
I love this
There are 4 awesome qualities from what could easily be negatively judged as being the boring old lady that sits at home and watches Neighbours on TV every night.
Yeah, that's right.
And yet she's got these beautiful, rich qualities.
She's an earth angel sitting right there, actually, without even thinking about it, just exuding qualities that some people spend lifetimes trying to arrive at because they're of such a pure vibrational intent.
Well, let's go the other way. Let's go. Here's the arrogant, loud, judgmental, opinionated, 6'2", very broad shoulders, big man, big suit. What's his core gifts? Let's get into that energy.
He gets shit done. If he's your lawyer, you want him on your side.
He gets shit done, exactly.
And he doesn't, he might be a bully, but sometimes the bullying can be a good thing if it is, if he's fighting for others' rights, if he's sticking up for the union, if he's defending, somebody in court, if he's just not allowing bullshit on the footy team with the lads, like he might be.
You can go to him and you could say, hey, you know how our sons both play in the same football team? I don't know how to talk to the coach, but he's being really negative to my child. What do you think I should do? Oh, I'll take care of that for you, love. No worries. I'll get into it. I'll let him know.
No worries.
Leave it with me. Thanks, done. But what other qualities?
I'm thinking.
Because, he's a hard character.
I'm thinking.
He's a hard character.
Okay, so
What else does he have? He makes no apology for his presence. He has the example to actually just be. He actually just is him with no apologies.
Yeah.
That's solid. So the chances are that he's also possibly solid in commitment. You may find that this is a guy that actually, he may not, but he may be quite solid in commitment, that he actually at the same time says, I'll see you Tuesday at 10.
Or when I make
at
up my mind to do something, I'm
it's going to happen.
way.
That's right.
Yeah.
So commitment is a big thing. So therefore, if you need somebody to commit, if you're going to be moving house and you need, 4 people to help you move, and you need them there at 10 o'clock on Tuesday, and he says yes, he'll be there.
I also think if a guy like him, let's say he's really moneyed up, he's always been in a lucrative career, he went to a private boys' school, he came from a rich family, money is something that is very natural to him. He doesn't think twice about money, he doesn't think twice about spending. That can actually be an awesome lesson to those of us who struggle with money, because he has actually achieved the vibration of the Buddhist law of unattachment to the coin. He has no neediness, insecurity, law of lack of scarcity, no worry about putting down money, using money, attracting in more money. It's such a given, it's not even part of his reference point, And so I think when you're looking to spiritually or vibrationally emulate, it can be in the same way that people like to go, for example, and sit in the presence of the Dalai Lama when he comes to Australia to speak. People will go to sit there because they just want to sit in his vibration, which I presume might be, say, inner peace or compassion or something like that. To spend 5 minutes in the energy of someone who's a ball breaker or who really has their money sorted can be a very interesting vibrational experience if you don't.
Yeah,
because you see the kind of personal power and confidence that man has achieved, and he then becomes a benchmark for you. One day, I want to be like that too. I want to have that level of complete
self-belief and self-reliance
as well. Self-reliance and just let go. It's just moved beyond that as a point of worry and stress for me. I want to have mastered that the way this guy's mastered it.
Let's do an example with let's do the holistic healer, because that's a lot of our listeners, which however you're doing it in whatever genre range. So qualities there. So many that we could reel off.
They're usually wounded. That's the thing. So it's really common in healing professions that, we always say people are drawn to the careers that they do because they teach what they need to learn or know. And so you get that particularly in psychologists, healers, those kind of things, because they often have some of the deepest wounds that they're, whether from childhood or screwed up families, or whether past lives, maybe they've been burnt as a witch and a midwife 15 times, and in this lifetime they're trying to come back and do it again from a place of real ownership and personal power. So you'll often find with healers, they are so good at what they do when you get them in the moment. When they really set aside their own stuff and just channel, or just they've got you up on the table, or they're in that moment with you, you get amazing lifetimes worth of wisdom out of these people. The problem is often that the second that snaps or breaks, that concentration, that channel, they go back into themselves, and often they haven't done nearly the same amount of work or wisdom back to themselves. So it's an interesting conundrum. What are their gifts? Well, they're healers is the most obvious gift, isn't it?
Yes.
Maybe they're in the ways that they may challenge you or press your buttons with their own shortcomings or insecurities or wounds that they're still working on. The ways that they might, because we've talked about this before in episodes too, Jane, like, how you really got to use your intuition when you're seeking out a healer, because you will sometimes get people who tell you things. Yesterday I had a massage with a girl who told me a whole lot of stuff, and I just thought, I'm just not really going to take in a lot of what she's telling me. I'm here for the massage, not the advice, and the advice is not on.
Yeah.
She might be an intuitive, but she still doesn't know me, and I didn't come to her for psychic advice, and she's dishing it to me on the bed. And you got to learn to know. So she kind of pushed my buttons in a couple of areas, but then that's for me to go away and think about, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So there you have it.
But usually healers will have an abundance of empathy. And so everybody in this planet should know what an amazing gift that is. Having said that, I just had somebody sit in my office, not just before Beck and I started recording, who said that she felt her empathy wasn't a gift. And so it's topical that we're doing this now,
a curse,
because
right?
She said it was a curse. And I said, no. But then I thought, well, no, you've got to do more work.
Look, there's this really...
Just do my HSP course.
Yes, absolutely. It's shadow work, it's HSP stuff, and it's also a really amazing book that I've come across recently by Ken Page. He's an American, and he really goes into a lot of depth about core gifts, and he's developed sort of a concept or a theory with what he calls attractions of deprivation and attractions of appreciation. So it's this idea that, and just so you know, his book is chockers with all sorts of exercises and micro meditations to help to find your core gifts if you're still struggling to know what they are.
What's the book called?
His book is called A Deeper Dating, but you don't necessarily have to be looking for relationships in order to read the book, because of course our whole lives are filled with relationships. It doesn't have to be of the romantic variety. It can just be family members, friends, colleagues, or your loved ones. But it's how we attract in people according to the level that we're comfortable with our own gifts. So an attraction of deprivation, well, you might be very, 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 very attracted to that man over there, very chemically hot, lots of electricity flying around, heaps of chemistry, because he consistently ignores your core gifts. Right? This is shadow work.
Okay, yeah.
And then, of course, an attraction of appreciation is what happens once you've done a bit of work on saying, okay, so how come I always attract cheaters? Why do I always attract cheaters? Because, well, you're sort of cheating on yourself in some way. How am I doing that? What's going on here? And you go deeper, you find the core gift that's being, disregarded. What's the core gift in me that he is abusing every time he cheats on me? The core gift is that I am so loyal. Loyalty is one of my strongest values that I've always had. Why am I attracting in these cheaters when I believe in loyalty? There's a lot of deep work to be done there. Once you've really had a look at where you're not being loyal or not really owning your loyalty as a core gift, then you start to attract in the men or the women who have the attractions of appreciation, because they also value loyalty and will show it to you in 1,000 different ways. So it's an interesting language and a different way that he's worded it. But essentially, Jane, it is just core shadow work.
Well, it is, absolutely. But I find that looking at the core values, how I describe myself now versus how I would have described myself 10 or 15 years ago prior to really knowing about HSPs is chalk and cheese. So the things that the qualities that used to hurt me the most and cause me the most anguish in life are the same qualities that now that I've got healthy boundaries and tools and know how to manage myself so much better.
And that you're proud of.
That I'm proud of,
that you
exactly.
defend.
But guess what? they are in my 3 deep, beautiful soul sisters. The same qualities are there.
So they're mirrored back to you now in the friendships.
Yeah,
that
they're
you
married
have.
back with you and my other couple of beautiful, very close girlfriends. And those friendships are friendships that actually have grown deeply over the past 10 years since I started to own the positive in me. So it's dynamic, the different quality of people that you will attract into your life as a result of really embracing and loving your core beliefs, your core gifts.
Personally, having done a bit of work on this myself in the last few years, I have also noticed the same phenomenon. I've had some new friendships come in, and they are very... I've currently got about 4 or 5 women who are very close to me. They're all obviously completely different people, but they are all very, very strongly the same in mirroring back the couple of gifts that I've been working on. It is...
Isn't it beautiful?
Fascinating. It is so
It's beautiful.
fascinating. And I've also seen you could say relationship with my father change, but I'm not even going to use that word. I think it's what's shifted is the way I view and value my father has
Yes,
shifted.
that has.
Because as I've done the work, I now see, this is almost a love languages thing as well, I now see how he shows his love to me, and it wasn't how I was looking for it, but now I see it because I better understand it.
And it comes back to the very basic, which we did in probably episode 2 or 3, which was like attracts like.
Yeah.
And, you've got to be what it is you want. So when somebody says, I really want to meet a funny man because, I'm pretty serious and I need to lighten up a bit. It's like, well, honey, you got to get a sense of humour before you're going to get the funny man. And the proof is exactly what we're saying.
Because why would he want you? What are you bringing to the table?
Yeah.
Exactly.
A funny man wants to be laughed at, but...
And you see, you say that about the fit people as well and the overweight people.
Yeah, exactly.
Lay that down, Joe.
Exactly. So when I have somebody who's a couch potato and, 20 or 30 kilos overweight and they tell me that they want somebody that's fit and active, it's like, see, the fit and active ones are wanting the fit and active ones.
They can go jogging with down the beach at sunrise.
Exactly. And they will specifically say, I don't want a couch potato.
Yeah.
If they're not physically active, and physically active doesn't mean going for a 20-minute walk twice a week. That means physically active means that, heart rate up, it's all happening, blah, blah, blah. Like attracts like.
There was a very interesting article on Facebook. I'm going to find the link and put it under this show on Facebook when we put it up, so you guys can have a look. Now, this is a bit of a segue, but I'm curious to explore this territory sort of under the banner of this topic. So basically someone has written the most articulate article I've yet to find on Generation Y. Someone has basically completely, almost scientifically, with a couple of graphs, coined what's going on with this generation. That's the young generation. And it's quite worrying. It begins with a stick figure drawing of a little girl, and it says, this is Lucy. She has everything she needs in a great life, but she's sort of not really happy. And this kind of sums up Gen Y, which is that they have their parents who came from a certain generation have inflated them with the view that if you work hard, you can get anywhere, be anyone and do anything. They're inflated with the view that they're very, 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 very special and there's no one quite like them. And they're also then at the same time in this world of screens, Facebooks and Instagrams and Tumblrs where everyone's living a projected perfect life. And you put all of these things together and you get a very hollow feeling inside your soul because none of those things carry genuine spiritual vibrational weight. And so we've got these very, very lost young people who are, as we know, bouncing into the workforce, expecting to start at the top, not at the bottom, not climb their way up. They don't understand failure. They don't understand coming second. Why should I have to? It's now. And while I love that for the warrior wayfarer aspect of going into corporations and pulling them down and saying, why should I do it this way? It's also a worry because they're basically starting out at 18 or 21 and thinking that they have the wisdom and the power of a 60 or 70-year-old who's done the hard yards in life and has had the lessons. I just think it's interesting under this core gifts umbrella that we're talking about today, how important it is to remember to nurture your children, if you're a mother or a father listening to this show, with helping them to identify their core gifts. And every night when I put my kids into bed, I'll ask them 3 questions. And sometimes the questions are things like, why do you love yourself? Or how are you a good friend? Or what is the reason, what is something you did today that made you a really nice person? What was that thing? So get your children, even if they're 3 or 4 years old, to begin to articulate their own core gifts.
That's beautiful, Beck. Love that story.
Thanks, Jamie.
Gorgeous, gorgeous. I am open and receptive to embrace my unique gifts.
And we are open and receptive to your feedback, your support, and we're on lovelifeshow.com if you'd like to chase us up with any queries, ideas for shows, and of course all of our life coaching and psychic counselling details are on our website. Jane and I also have added a support us button to our website, so if you would ever like to make a small monetary or large monetary contribution of your own private choosing to enable Jane and I to keep giving you all of our best teachings for free, ad-free, every week on YouTube and on Love Life and on Facebook, please just hop over to our website lovelifeshow.com and you can help us out there to keep Love Life being downloaded into your ears every Wednesday. So until this time next week, have fun having a good long hard look at what your core gifts might be and honouring them.
Life is perfect, I'm not trying, it's just happening.